EEKtober, everybody. We are doing 31 days of scary movies. Today is day number 2. And I'm your host, Melissa Forziat. I'm a keynote speaker. When I speak, my topic is something that I call Take the Doughnut, which for me is another way to say carpe diem. It comes from this very strange thing that happened to me in college where I left an actual donut on a table. And that became an object lesson for me in what it looks like to leave opportunities behind. So now I'd rather take the donut. Now, from time to time, I'll issue myself a Take the Doughnut challenge, which is basically me saying that there's something that I want to go after, and I'll make it official so I can sort of hold myself accountable to it. And this time, I'm opening up my Take the Doughnut challenge to anybody who wants to join. So here we are for 31 days of scary movies. Now, today, we're going to talk about The Strangers. This movie is from 2008. I'm going to classify this one as home invasion. This was both directed and written by Brian Bertino. Now, on my list of 31 days of scary movies, Brian Bertino might be the one who has the most films on my list. I have 3 that are done by Brian Bertino, including The Monster and The Dark and the Wicked as well. So if you were into the style of this one, you might be into those as well. Now, this starred Scott Speedman as James and Liv Tyler as Kristen, and then a bunch of people with masks on. So those are probably the most recognizable people in this film. It's a small cast. This film, from what I can gather, is inspired by a couple of things. It's inspired by the Manson family, Charles Manson family murders at Sharon Tate's home, and some break-ins that happened in Bertino's old neighborhood when he was a child. So it is inspired by those real-life events. If you liked what you saw in this film, definitely check out the sequel, The Strangers Pray at Night. It's got a very similar feel. It covers a slightly wider area. So I don't know if I'd say it's home invasion. We might say it's more survival, but it has a bit of a mix, has a similar feel to it. Also, there is a trilogy that they've been working on for a little while, and the first movie has already dropped. The Strangers trilogy, chapter 1 dropped this year in 2024, and there's going to be a 2 and a 3 that are supposed to come as well. So I haven't seen chapter 1 yet, so I can't speak to it. But Strangers Pray at Night is definitely a good one. I like it a lot. Could have made this a double feature, but I didn't, and you're welcome to do that if you're so inclined. I've been thinking, when I think about how I want to do these videos, it occurred to me that I really think that the tone of the film needs to inform the tone of how I talk about the film, because, it's not the same talking about The Strangers as it was talking about Children of the Corn in my last video. So, and it's certainly not going to be the same as the next one that I'm going to talk about either, the BLOB. So I feel like I need to sort of lend a little bit of the tone of the film to how I talk about each film as they happen. And, for this one, there's just such an artistic feel to this movie. A few general notes about this one. What can you expect from most Brian Bertino films? Not all of them, but most of them that I like anyway, and all of the ones that are on my list for this 31 days of scary movies. Brian Bertino is fantastic at creating atmosphere. Like, he just has a really haunting, chilling atmosphere. He does a great job with building suspense in that atmosphere. And a lot of times he does atmospheric scenes at night, and he does a really good job of sort of lighting and crafting an artistry around the scenes at night. So those are a few things that I happen to think are strengths of his. And there are movies of his that I watch these night scenes and I just think, like, that's so beautiful. And that's the product of sort of like getting really desensitized to watching so many horror movies, because when the horror isn't landing as scary to me, I can look at a beautiful shot and be like, wow, that's gorgeous and incredible. And so that's the sort of reaction that I tend to have with Brian Bertino films. But I can also acknowledge that this film is absolutely just tense and sort of unrelenting. And it makes me a little angry. Like, oh, these people, like, why are they doing this? It frustrates me. It's not the only film on my list that has that feeling about it. And this movie does a really good job with it. So I think it's effective in what it's trying to do. Um, I will say that this film, if we sort of go through the points of the film, which is a trick to do for this one, because a lot of it is like really slow moving actions and, just like setting scenes and showing you something in a background where the audience actually is more afraid even than the characters are at moments, because we know that there are people in the house. One of the things that I don't know, I could maybe do without it is the voiceover at the very beginning. We have a voice saying 1.4 million violent crimes in America, that there are 1.4 million violent crimes in America each year. And then we get more voiceover that says that the day is February 11th, 2005. Kristen and James are leaving their friend's wedding reception. They're going to return to James, the Hoyt's family summer home. And they're going to experience brutal events there. And then we're going to continue the framing device, because the framing here is people who have found this couple. So we start with that voiceover, and then we're going to get a series of like a slow moving car. The strangers are trolling for where their next home, where next victims are going to be. They start in a suburban neighborhood. They're driving very slowly through the suburban neighborhood, and then they're going to get out to farmland where there's more space. The suburban homes a little too close to each other for these to be good victims for them. So they're trying to find a place with a little bit more space to it. But we're going to go from that. It's like three different ways to like devices to introduce us. We get the voiceover with that information, the statistics. We get the shot of the stranger sort of driving through from their perspective, looking for the next home they're going to terrorize. And then we're going to get a 911 call with kids calling in an emergency. The kids go into the house. They go through an open door. They see a record spinning. They see a jewelry box or a ring box on the ground, I think, with rose petals around it. They see a bloody knife. They see a blood spatter. We're going to see that same thing again later. And then, they see a rifle, and we're going to go to the title card for the movie, The Strangers. So we get sort of three devices at the start. I don't really feel like I need all three, but I understand the purpose of them. Let's talk about the voiceover for a second. Voiceover can work for you or not work for you. I think for me, it's redundant because, to give me the stats, like you could just put me right into the action. You could start me with, the car driving through the suburban neighborhood, or with the 911 call. Why I think you include that bit with the stats in it, the 1.4 million violent crimes bit, is it reminds me a bit of the movie Nightcrawler. For those of you who have seen that, it's a Dan Gilroy film. It has Jake Gyllenhaal, Rene Russo. Great film. Not a horror movie, but it's, I would say Jake Gyllenhaal's character is in fact very creepy. But one of the main things about that is this whole notion of the fact that the media are driven by, viewers wanting to see the absolute most grotesque scenes of the crime scene. And there are people who need to get that footage. And so it's the point, I think a point of the movie is that this is an industry driven by the people who are consuming that footage. And one of the things that they make a point of in that film is that the more somebody relates the situation to themselves, the more they're going to be affected by it, the more they're going to watch it. So if you show people suburban homes and you're trying to reach a suburban area and get people to take some sort of action, they're much more likely to respond to something that's, crime in a more affluent neighborhood, or crime against a family that looks just like them. And so I think with a voiceover like this, it does sort of tap into that same feeling. If you're telling me that 1.4 million violent crimes happen in America each year, and then you're describing this couple, it could be anybody going to a wedding reception. It could be anybody who has a family summer home. It's sort of meant to hit a little bit harder if you meet in any way that description. And then for me, it's more effective actually to see the next device of the car driving past, because these people, they're going to find somebody. Today, it was Kristen and James. Tomorrow, it's going to be somebody else. And they're just looking for the right space. And obviously, they're looking for something that had, a further distance from neighbors than these first homes that we're seeing on screen, which is why they end up picking Kristen and James' home. So that's something that strikes me as well. And then we're going to get the 911 call with these kids, and we're going to get this echoed at the end of the film. I'd be curious to know of these 3 different devices to get us in, which is most effective for you, and do you need all of them? But from this point forward, it stays a very sort of small and intimate film from this point. We're basically just at this home. We are not leaving this home. We see a couple of flashbacks, but Kristen and James will get to this home, and that is where they will end their lives, where their lives will be ended for them. So we're going to see, we get a very clear picture of what's happened for this couple on this particular night. We're looking at James in the car. He's so somber. And we see Kristen next to him, Liv Tyler with the tears rolling down her face. No sobs, just tears. Wow. I mean, I feel like she had a lot of control over these tears. This actress is like Liv Tyler. Wow. They're stopped at a light, turns green. They drive onward. They're going out past a lake. They are silent. It is awkward. Something happened between these people tonight. And for whatever reason, they're still going to this lake farmhouse. I think it's a lake house. That's a bit of a distance from an actual lake. But they drive past a lake to get to this place. One thing that I love is the choice of Scott Speedman in this role. Now, I have previously done an audio-only podcast with a friend of mine about the show Felicity. If you ever watched the show Felicity, Scott Speedman is Ben. He's, somebody that many of us know and love. One of the things about him that many actors who worked with him on that show have said is that the man whispers a lot, and that is what this whole beginning calls for. Between James and Kristen, if they even talk at all, it's whispery, it's somber, it's low. They're not in a good mood. They don't know. They're walking on eggshells with each other. And James is just like devastated. And, we're going to find that he obviously had proposed to her and she said no. And they're still going to this house. Because when they get to the house, he walks her into it, and you can see all the things that he set up with his friend Mike. We start looking around. There are rose petals. There are candles everywhere. There's a candlelight dinner set up, just like the place setting is set up for it. He's got a bathtub with rose petals in it. Didn't know what to do about the water. He don't know if you put the rose petals in before or after you fill it with water. But hey, this was the plan. This is what he did. So we're just getting these little shots from around the place. You can see very clearly that he had planned this. He really cares about her. So much of this beginning interaction with them, you're just seeing that even though he's devastated, he's still taking care of her. Like, he'll unzip her dress and he'll undo the clasp of her necklace, not because he's trying to seduce her, because he's not in the mood for that right now, but he's doing it because that's what she needs, and he's there, and somebody needs to help her with this. So he does all these things sort of before she even asks. He just knows what she needs next, but for whatever reason, the proposal was not accepted. And so you can feel the tension, the uncertainty of what they're meant to be doing next here. They're not communicating at all with each other. And what's really interesting to me is that we're later going to see the strangers show up, and they don't communicate with words either. but they're very much on the same page. So to see like these two different groups of people, all of whom are communicating mostly wordlessly, and for some it's more effective than others. James is going to leave a message for his friend Mike to come pick him up while Kristen draws a bath for herself. And at this point, we're going to see some flashbacks. We've got a pretty good hint already, but the flashbacks are going to show us a little bit more. They were at a wedding reception, the one that Mike was also at. And, James sort of brings her out into the parking lot. He holds out this ring box. He starts the process of trying to propose to her. And another device that they use in this film a bit is the very subtle slow motion. Instead of seeing her response, instead, as he starts to propose, she hangs her head and it's just slowed down a little bit for effect. So again, I don't even know if I really clocked how many times they use that little bit of slow motion in this film until I was sort of really watching it for this. But it's something that sort of echoes later on. So we understand she declined. Now he's got to wait for Mike. He's going to grab a whole tub of vanilla ice cream. I mean, a whole tub of vanilla ice cream? I don't know. Maybe I just need fancier flavors. He puts the ring box next to him on the dining room table. He just starts eating the ice cream. She gets out of the tub. She's put her dress back on because she wants to feel fancy tonight. She compliments him on the setup. She's apologizing. He gives her the ring box. He's like, please just keep it. I can't take this back. I can't take it. It's too painful for him. He's in so much pain at the beginning of this. He's so quiet and so in pain and still prioritizing her needs as much as he can right now. He opens champagne. They're both going to drink. He says he has her clothes in the bedroom. He's that prepared. But she's like, you know what? I want to keep wearing this dress. It's a lovely looking dress on her, but she says it makes her feel pretty. Maybe she's not feeling so pretty on the inside right now after what just went down with James. So she wants to look pretty on the outside. James is like, you are pretty. Oh man, these two, what a night. Why did they go to this house? They don't know what to do now. They don't know where to go from here. He's embarrassed. She's not, it doesn't seem like she's saying she wants to break up, but she's not ready to be married. So that puts them in this weird limbo. And tonight is night one of weird limbo. They're going to slow dance. He's like, you're my girl. They start to have sex. And then there's a knock on the door. They're interrupted by a knock on the door at 4 a.m. Look, I mean, you're not going to find me living in a house in the woods by myself. Nothing good ever comes of this in horror films. So I know. But a 4 a.m. knock better be giving you some real pause. James is going to go to open the door. Kristen's going to follow him. The porch light's busted. There's a woman with blonde, long hair. She's got a mask on her face. Well, actually, we can't see her face. Her face is just not lit right now. I actually think there wasn't a mask on her face at this moment, but the light is out. So we can't see her face. She says, is Tamara here? He's like, nope. Think you got the wrong house. She's like, you sure? He's like, yep. She says, see you later. Not goodbye. See you later. She leaves and he screws the bulb back in so that the porch would be lit again. We're going to pan into the trees. You know, as much as possible, this movie, we're going to do this really interesting thing where we're getting all these lazy shots of sort of like, I'm going to bring you out to the woods here. I'm going to show you this. I'm going to show you that. And sometimes there's a thing out there that's going to scare you, but not all the time, but you're always looking for it. So right now we're just getting a shot of the trees. I also think getting an early shot of the trees like that helps to show us that they're really not that close to any neighbors. We need to see that as well. We're going to get a record spinning, but there's no music on. James and Kristen are sitting apart. That killed the mood for sure. This woman asking if Tamara's home. Kristen is out of cigarettes. He offers to go get some for her, but he's going to light her a fire first. How lovely is that? And then he says, look, I called Mike. I think you should take the car back tomorrow. I'm going to get picked up by Mike tonight. We shouldn't go on this road trip. Apparently there was an even longer trip planned to celebrate, and nobody's in a celebrating mood right now. So we confirm all of that. He goes out to get the cigarettes. Now it's like the next act of the film. We get a wide shot of the house, and she plays a record. She tries on the ring just to see. We're going to get sort of shots of her moving about the house listlessly. And then she's going to get herself some beer. She's going to see on the wall, when you measure kids' height up against a wall, we can see that James was measured that way, and probably his brother Steve as well. As she's looking at that, there's one knock on the door. The sound design in this film was very intentional and so good. It really builds. It starts with one knock, and it startles her. She slow-mo looks at the door just for a second. Again, we don't use like a whole big stretch of slow-mo. You could totally miss that this device is being used, this technique is being used. We get another one knock. She starts walking to the door slowly. One knock. She puts her ear to the door to listen, and she says, hello. And the woman from before says, is Tamara home? She says, you already came by here. Woman's like, are you sure? The person leaves. She locks the door. Kristen's going to walk into the main room. She goes slowly back to the window. She closes the drapes. There's really two main doors. There's a front door, a wooden front door, and there's a glass sliding door in the back. She's going to close the drapes around that. There's smoke getting into the house. There wasn't before. That makes me nervous. She opens up the flue. The smoke alarm goes off. She goes up to reach it. And around this point, look, I'm 5'2". I'm thinking, what a dream that would be for me to be able to stand on a chair and reach that smoke alarm. But she's Liv Tyler, okay? Liv Tyler, I think, is probably a little taller than I am. So if she stretches, can reach the smoke alarm. And we get another knock on the door that startles her, and the whole smoke alarm falls down to the floor. So now we're going to get like she's feeling the fear now. We're going to get a little bit more slow-mo here, a louder knock. She goes to get her phone. There's not enough battery to make a call. So she's going to plug it in. It's right near the fireplace. She's going to get another knock. The knocks are coming a little bit faster, a little bit more frequent here. She's going to get the landline phone and call James with it. She's like, James, girl came back. She looks out the window. She doesn't see anybody out the window. We're getting all these lonely shots from sort of outside the home. James, as much as James has been anticipating her needs at this point, he got in his car. He got away from this situation that was not a comfortable situation for him. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if he was wondering if he even wanted to come back at all. But she's calling him now, and he's like, it's probably nothing. It probably wasn't the woman. He's not really believing her as much as he was anticipating her needs before. But frankly, like, I don't know, like he could probably use a break from the situation. But he's not getting one because she wants him to come back. So she has decided she doesn't want to feel pretty anymore. She wants to get comfortable, and she wants to be ready to fight. She wants to be ready to throw hands. So she is going to put on jeans and a flannel shirt. She just needs to be more mobile. The phone, as she's asking him to come back, the phone goes dead. It was a landline. Landline's probably cut now. She starts smoking inside the house because at this point, who's going to stop her? We're gonna get another wide shot, and again, this film does this so well where we get this wide shot, and every time you see a shot that's like, oh, I wonder if there could be something else happening in here, you're at least looking for it, and sometimes there is, and in this situation, there is. We're going to see in this wider shot there's a masked man who has walked into the house through the front door. She does not see him. She's going to go to the kitchen. He's going to stay sort of by the piano where we can see him very clearly. She's not seeing him at all. He is watching her. And we know that at any time, he could choose to do something about this. But instead, he's stalking her. She gets a drink. He's watching. It's a pretty long stretch of this stalking situation. Then we see his perspective and she turns around and then we look back and he's gone. Oh, they're all just biding their time. If you didn't already know it, this tells you that they can get into this home anytime they want to. How they're just getting into every door, like, I don't know, noiselessly. What are they using to pick these locks? Like, are they, I don't think they just had this house marked forever and they were just waiting for somebody to go into it. Like they have skills. Okay. Wish they would apply their skills to other uses, but here we are. So she's going to get a knife now. She's tense enough that it's time to have a weapon. The phone's still dead. She's going to walk towards the door. We're going to hear a knock. And here's the thing. The smoke alarm that was on the floor, it's on the chair now. Probably the masked man did that. That's not where she left it. And she knows it. Somebody has been getting into the house. We're now going to hear scratching at the front door. She sees that the phone charger is cut for her cell phone. The door rattles now, so it's getting more aggressive, the noise. They know that she's spotting all these things that they left behind. We're going to hear wind chimes being knocked around out back. So, or it sounds maybe like that, something like that. And so, okay, there's more than one of them. They're kind of all over the place. At this point, she only knows about the long-haired blonde woman, but there's somebody at the front door and there's somebody near the back door. So there must be more than one. There must be two. She goes out to the back window, and at this point, she sees a masked man out back. Bad news for her. That's not all of them, even. But she is definitely outnumbered right now. She's going to scream, and she steps back and knocks herself into a record player that starts skipping. And now sound design, knocking on all doors, skipping record. It's disorienting. It's upsetting. It's like this cacophony of noise that as a viewer, I think you're meant to feel really uncomfortable, really off balance. And then we're going to see the front door. It's unlocking, locking, unlocking, opening. They can get into this house anytime they want. She's now going to go to this door and she's going to see through the crack of the door another masked woman with shorter hair, brown hair. There are three people. She's so freaked out now. She tries to hide under her bed. She can't fit. There's crashing sounds everywhere. She's like, go away. And for us too, it feels like go away. Just the sound design of this movie just builds it so well. Like it's suspense, suspense, suspense. And then they like ratchet it up to a point we can't take it. And then they quiet it again. Because they're doing that to us too. Like the movie is playing a game with us as much as these people are playing a game with Kristen. So now she's going to check to see, so she breaks a lamp. She doesn't want to be seen in the bedroom, like that matters at all. She's crying. She hears somebody else enter the house. She crawls forward with a knife. I love this image of her sort of crawling out from behind the bed very slowly. There's a lot of slow moving action in here. Even, our villains almost never move quickly. And when they do, that's the end of your film, right? So it's just a cat and mouse game right now. The record player stops. We've got footsteps, and then James appears. She's like, Jamie. So now we're getting familiar and comfortable. Now we finally have a nickname for him. She's like, there's somebody out there. He doesn't believe it because she is in a state like this just for fun. Come on, James. He takes the knife from her hand. She's been gripping it so tight that it's cut into her hand and it's bleeding. She's going to shut the bedroom door and barricade it. She starts to download him on what's happening. And he takes the knife to go check it out. He's like, nobody in the hallway, nobody in the bedrooms, nobody here, nobody there. He walks around to every space. We then see that her cell phone that had been charging is in the fire now. They don't see that, but we get to see that because we need to feel ultra uncomfortable. Just as James is trying to convince her she's fine, we know they're not. They get to the garage. Nobody's in the garage, but she's going to look out. She's going to climb up and look out the window. And there's the long-haired woman, blonde woman, standing in the middle of the yard, just watching them. And he sees it too now. So James is like, would you want me to talk to her? Christian's like, they don't want to talk. That's not a thing. They say they're looking for Tamara. I mean, come on. So James remembers he left his phone in the car. He wants to go get it. She's like, no, see, because they can come inside the house. They can go outside and get you there too. He doesn't believe it. The woman is gone out front, so surely it's safe now. He's going to go out the front door to go to the car, and that's a big mistake. So he is going to find his window has been smashed. His tires have been slashed. They got to the car. They also like hot wired it. They like stripped it. So he goes into the car. He tries to roll it backwards. He reaches around. There's no phone. And I mean, look, again, I have watched so many horror movies in my life that I'm fairly desensitized to them at this point. But when you see James in this car, occupied with trying to figure out where his phone is and trying to make it roll, and then you see a hand coming towards his back, towards his neck, just real slow. I got so angry at the hand. I was like, get away from him. She just touches it. One of the women touches him very lightly and he freaks out. She was in the car. He didn't even notice. I'm here to tell you, I have seen way too many films with women who get into cars and there was somebody hiding in the back seat who pops up and they see them in the rear view mirror. That's not a thing I'm going to deal with. Okay. You better believe that when I'm getting into my car, I'm looking in the back seat. All right. James did not. And there was a person there. That person has touched him on the back of the neck. He's going to flip out. He gets out of the car. We're going to hear like more sounds from somewhere, slamming of things. He's going to see that long-haired woman standing at the end of the driveway. Another woman runs through the trees. So now he knows there's more than one person. He says, get inside, Kristen. She's like, what's happening out here? She's get inside the house. He looks back, the woman's gone. We're going to hear twigs breaking. We're going to see shots of trees, but nobody in them. Because sometimes we're hearing people, sometimes we're not, but they're always out there. James doesn't see anybody. He walks into the house. He sort of guards it for a moment. And then he's going to go inside. We're going to get a little jump scare with Kristen touching him when he gets in. He tells her to get her things. It's time for us to go. I don't know how they're going to go. He's thinking there's nobody in the house, but he patches her up. She cut it on that knife. So he's going to sort of bandage it up or at least wrap it a little bit to stop the bleeding. They are isolated and James realizes like, okay, this is just us and them. At this point, like do whatever you have to do to be okay in this situation. Don't feel bad about it. Which is all well and good. It's good to have that instruction up until he sees his phone on the piano. The phone he left in his car. While Kristen was inside, somebody came in and put it on the piano. Now he's freaked out. They are going to go outside to the car. They're going to get in the car. That's not going to work though, because the truck that these three people drive, these masked strangers drive, the truck pulls up behind them. You just see really bright lights lighting them up inside their car. We see that the woman with the short hair is driving it. So she is behind them in the truck, but in front of them is the masked man. And so they can't move forward, they can't move back. And now the woman drives and smashes into them, then backs up and does it again. Yep, time to get out of the car. So they're going to get out of this car. They are going to run back into the house. And now we're going to get the sound of a horn honking intermittently, because we just once again need to start ratcheting up the tension with the noise level. James is going to find a shotgun. They go into the bedroom with the shotgun, and we see hello written all over the inside in lipstick. So somebody took time to do a little art project in there. And then they start seeing things like sort of splatter into the glass. It startles them. Now they're feeling urgent. They find some bullets. He assembles the gun. Fortunately, he's not sure how to use it, because he lied to her at one point and said he used to hunt with his dad, but he never did. So he's going to have to feel this one out, and hopefully he'll get it right. They are going to go to the front door. He's got a new plan. I'm going to open the front door, and you're going to run. To where, James? Where are you going? Like, where? You just tried this exercise. Poor guy. So it's too late. This plan is too late. We're going to see an axe break through the wooden front door, and somebody's like trying to knock it down. They start screaming. They block the door with the piano. He's going to throw a chair at it. He's going to shoot a hole through the door. Unfortunately, that doesn't actually hit any of the masked strangers. They're going to hide in a spare room. He is now ready to shoot whatever comes through. And somebody comes into the house while they're sort of holed up in this spare room. That person walks into the hallway and starts some country music. They're in the mood to hear Merle Haggard's Mama Tried. It's not our mama's fault. This is just how we ended up. It's playing on the record because that's so creepy now. And we're going to get shots now of this sort of the empty house. I feel like now shots of this empty house with Mama Tried playing is like escalating us to the next level of this film. James is poised to shoot. Kristen's crying. And now we need to complicate the situation. Another car is going to pull up into the driveway. It is James's friend, Mike, the one who received the voicemail from James to pick him up. He's at the house. Something smashes into his windshield, and it freaks Mike out. He gets out of his truck, and he notices James's car is smashed too. And now he's on edge. He's on guard, and he starts sort of looking around. He's going to approach the house really slowly. He's going to grab something to use as a weapon. He starts calling their names. Just silence. He's at the back of the house. He goes into the house. We see the long-haired woman appear, watching him go into the house. You linger on a shot long enough and you see one of the strangers. Mike hears this country music. He's surveying the living room. It's not looking good. He's going to walk into the hallway towards the bedrooms. He starts to slowly walk towards the bedrooms. We see the masked man behind him watching him. At first, he's just standing there figuring, well, this is probably not going to end well for this guy. We'll just let whatever's going to happen here. But then we see that he's holding an axe, and he starts to follow Mike. Mike almost turns for a second, but then decides against it. Then he keeps walking forward. Mike says hello as he gets to the door that James is guarding and gets blown away. James shoots him right in the face. Blood splatters up against the wall. So now we're starting to explain all of those images that we saw at the very beginning of the film. That blood splatter, that was Mike. James is like, oh my God, the person I shot didn't have a mask on. Why did he take up his mask? And then he looks, you can see the person's legs who's fallen. They're wearing nice pants and nice shoes, like shoes and pants you'd wear to a wedding. This is not good. James goes out and he sees that he shot his friend Mike in the face, his best friend. So now he's crying and he's sort of, Kristen's crying, and they're just devastated now. They don't know what they're going to do. New plan. There's a radio in the barn. James is going to go outside. He's going to go to the barn to call for help. He wants Kristen to hide in the house. He goes to the back sliding door. The word killer is written on it because he just killed Mike. So somebody's doing an art project that's very real time. We have this voyeuristic view of watching them from outside the house. He's going to go outside the house. He's going to check Mike's truck. He sees that somebody, cut the wires, can't even hot wire it anymore. He runs into the woods. We see the short-haired woman come out of the barn with a flashlight. He goes to shoot her. And in the first quick moving action we see the strangers take, and this is why it's so terrifying, he goes to shoot this short-haired woman. He could get her. And the masked man is watching and he runs at James. He just runs. We haven't seen anything fast happen in this film. So just somebody moving at a quick clip is enough to freak you out. The gun goes off. And that's the last we're going to hear from James for a little bit. We don't know what's going to happen to James here. Kristen is looking outside to inspect the situation. She sees swings swinging. Somebody was in them. She's sitting outside at the sliding door. We see the masked man inside the house walking towards the door she's at. She runs out into the woods and she needs to hurt herself now to have to limp for the rest of the movie. So she's going to trip into a ditch and hurt her ankle. We hear crashing sounds around her. She crawls into the barn. The short-haired woman is following her along the way with a knife, but when she turns around, short-haired woman's not there. I don't know how they get away so fast, to be honest. Like, where is there to hide like that quickly? I don't know. Kristen goes into the barn. She finds a flashlight. We see that the axe was removed. There's a space that looks like an axe shape where there is no axe. That is what the man is holding. She finds the radio. There's some static on the radio. And we hear somebody knows that she's in this barn and they're scraping around the edges of the barn with a tool. We hear somebody on the radio trying to answer her call. And at this point, another quick motion, the short-haired woman pops up and she destroys the radio, like multiple quick motions to destroy the radio. Kristen runs into the woods. She sees the masked man stalking somebody, probably James. She sees the short-haired woman come out of the barn. She sees the long-haired woman on a swing. We're getting to a point now where we can actually see all of them at the same time, which it feels like it's starting to close in on James and Kristen. She's going to army crawl. She sees the car on fire. Everybody's now gone. She returns to the house. She's hobbling. She sees dead Mike. The lights go out. She's going to walk around. She's lit by the fire. She hears somebody play the piano. Oh my God, somebody's in the house. She sees the masked man go into another room. Maybe he's following James. He's not paying attention to her. She hides in a pantry that has like sort of slatted window. I don't know what you call these windows. It's a window. It's got slats and you can see through them. So she can see the masked man walking around. He comes back towards the kitchen where she is. He looks at the door that she's behind. He doesn't go to it. He sits in front of it in a chair. Then he gets up. He's going to walk away. She is going to look at the pantry. Is he gone? She looks out the pantry. It's sort of like this through the slats. And then we're going to get a nice big jump scare with the long-haired blonde woman just getting right in front of that pantry door really fast. Again, these fast motions, we've had, one from each of them at this point, and it's just like, things are obviously escalating. Windows are rattling. She goes away for a second. Kristen opens the door, but the long-haired woman did not go away. She's in the kitchen. She grabs the ring box. Oh, what a great day for you. Kristen asks Kristen asks, why are you doing this to us? This woman chooses not to answer. Kristen's going to get a smaller knife while this woman's holding a nice big butcher knife. She's going to scrape the knife across the table just to be super ominous about things. But that's interrupted by James being thrown into the house. The masked man follows him in. The woman says, "You're going to die." It really feels like that, right? Now, at this point, this is the closest two of them have been to our characters. We don't know where the third one is at this particular moment, but we've got the most people inside this house at one time that we've seen. Kristen is going to run. She's going to trap herself into the bedroom. The short-haired woman is at the door. The masked man has James. The door opens of the bedroom because they can get into the bedroom too. And James is like, "Kristen, run." She shouts for Jamie and the lights come on. Now she decides it's safe enough. She walks out of the bedroom. The masked man, she's just testing the waters. She's going to sort of dip her toe in the water. She's going to just slightly peer out of the bedroom door. And this is probably the biggest jump scare, I think, of the film. The masked man is now fast moving, aggressive, grabs her and smashes her against the wall to knock her unconscious. It's just so unexpected to see these folks moving quickly, that it strikes you as ultra aggressive, almost anything they do fast. And this is without dispute an aggressive action. So she's unconscious, but not for long. He's at this point like dragging her through the hallway, and she starts to wake up. And now she's like, she's trying to stop him. She's grabbing onto door frames and walls, and we see her being dragged past Mike on the ground. And she screams. So some time is going to pass now. The camera is going to pan very slowly to the right in the dark. You almost can't even tell that the camera is panning because it's dark. But as the camera keeps panning, it reveals a room that's now lit. It's morning, and Jamie and Kristen are each tied up in their own chair. And they've just kept them like this all until, like, now granted, this whole thing started, it was about 4 a.m. So it hasn't necessarily been a lot of hours since this, since that last scene we saw to right now, but it's fully daylight. And the short-haired woman goes to open the blinds so we can see that. And the front door is open. Both of our main characters are conscious. They're struggling in their chairs, and the masked three are standing directly in front of them, silent. I mean, something's going to happen here. They're not going to let these people go. Kristen's like, "Why are you doing this to us?" And this time, the long-haired blonde woman does answer. She says, "Because you were home. It was going to be somebody." They start crying. They're holding hands. He sees the ring on her finger. And at least there's that, right? They look in each other's eyes, and he's like, at least he had this moment to kind of get her acceptance of the proposal wordlessly. He nods. The long-haired woman takes her mask off. Then the other woman, then the man. So now they're standing there totally identifiable, because these two are not going to get out of this alive. And the man picks up the knife. They're all wordless. He crouches down and he stabs James. And he keeps stabbing him, and they take turns stabbing James. And Kristen says, "Look at me, James." And he looks at her as he's being stabbed. He slumps down. Now the long-haired woman stabs Kristen. She screams, and we're going to hear the sound of multiple stabs as we start seeing shots of a peaceful countryside devoid of people. So we're sort of like, it's like we zoomed in and this is what's happening in this one house. And now we're zooming back out and this is what's happening in the rest of the neighborhood, which is basically still nothing. We're now going to see morning light coming in through the open door. Kristen's lying on the ground. Jamie's lying on the ground. Mike's lying on the ground. Mike's phone rings. Kristen wakes up to the sound of Mike's phone ringing. She drags herself towards the phone. She grabs it. She misses the call, but she goes to just trying to figure out how to dial. And the masked man, who's not wearing a mask right now, he crouches down next to her, grabs the phone, and leaves. She'll die in good time. That'll happen on its own. She shields herself though, because she's like, don't. And he's just going to grab the phone and leave. And this is where we're going to revisit what we saw at the beginning of the film with those boys with the bikes. They're wheeling their bikes on the road. The truck with our villains passes them, but stops. And the one woman gets out, then the long-haired woman gets out. She comes around, and we can see that the boys are holding Christian living brochures. She asks for one, and he says, "Are you a sinner?" She says, "Sometimes." They all get back in the car. They drive away. The short-haired woman says, "It'll be easier next time." And now we're going to see the end of this framing device where the boys, they get up, they keep wheeling the bikes up to the home where Kristen and James had been or still are. They see the smashed car. They see the open front door. We see their bikes on the road as they're inspecting. They see the record in the jewelry box. They see the blood splatter on the wall. They see the knife. They see the shotgun, all of the things that we can now explain how it all happened. Then they see the bodies. And one of the boys sees James, the other one sees Kristen, and the one seeing Kristen crouches down next to her, goes to touch her, and she screams. And this is the type of thing that, a lot of times in movies, the thing is that like the villain, the guy you were trying to kill always comes back, or the woman you were trying to kill, they come back for one last like lunge at you. But this time it was Kristen that sort of lunged, it's the jump scare that you hope for, but you maybe weren't expecting. So, I mean, look, and then the credits start in silence, and eventually we get some subtle sound design around it. But I mean, my goodness, this film, just the atmosphere of it, as much as I can sort of describe it to you, it's really about the atmosphere that you feel, that you're sensing. It's a sensory experience for you. The way that they've designed the sound to, again, like start very quiet, and then we're just getting a little bit, and then it ramps up and it ramps up until it's like you need to escape it, and the characters need to escape it, and then it's silent again, and then it starts over. But each time it ramps up a little quicker and it gets a little bit more fervent when it does. And when we get to the point where we start seeing the faster moving actions, because we actually have those moments in the beginning where we see even slow-mo, and don't even necessarily need it, but it's just that emphasis. So by the time we see people moving quicker, you get a jump scare with the woman getting in front of like the slatted pantry door. She wasn't even moving that fast. It just feels like she was. So much of this movie has to work being shot in the dark. And I think Brian Bertino did such a great job of capturing that and making it feel like very clear what we were looking at, but also sometimes wondering if there's something we weren't seeing. Like when you have enough time in a wide shot, you're looking everywhere in the frame, trying to figure out who's there that I should be looking for. So I just think it's so It's so amazing. And just this idea that at the end of it all, they get back in their truck and, one woman says it'll be easier next time because they are going to do this again. They might do it again tomorrow. They are going to scope out a new house. They're going to find somebody else who's home and they're going to terrorize them and kill them. And who knows how many people they've done this to? I mean, because this would seem to be the long-haired blonde woman's first time doing this. But the other woman and the masked man, they're pros. They've been doing this for a good long time. Yeah, I mean, such a specific style with this film, a specific tone, some very confident choices to be slow moving, and to know that for some people watching this film, that could make them feel bored, make them lose attention. But this film committed to saying, no, this is part of how we ramp. We can't ramp up if we start at full speed. We have to have somewhere to build to. And this film does it in a very intentional way. And maybe it loses some people because of that in the beginning. But if you stick with it, you will really have something scary by the end of it. So look, again, I've watched so many horror films that I sort of don't feel the fear as much, but home invasion films do tend to get me. And this one has a very claustrophobic feel added to it that is, it just such a tight space, such small quarters for them to be in. So just beautifully done, well acted, very thoughtfully directed. And I'm looking forward to getting to the next Brian Bertino one, so that, maybe this is one that you're more likely to have seen, but, maybe the next one on our list is something that will be new to you. So I hope you can discover some new films from Brian Bertino along the way. So look, that's what I thought about The Strangers. The question is, what did you think? I'd love to get your thoughts in the comments about this film. And while you're there, look, I've said it a couple times. I've watched so many horror films that they don't really scare me anymore. So my ScaryMeter is broken. I don't know, when people ask me for recommendations on movies and they say, I don't know if it's hard to know just how scary something actually is versus what I think of it in my head. So here's where I need your help. Please use your ScaryMeter and rate this film from 1 to 10 in terms of how scary it is. 1 being really not that scary, 10 being so scary. Wherever it falls for you, we're not necessarily rating it in how good the film is. We're rating it how scary it is. You can share that information too if you want, but I'd love to know where this lands on your ScaryMeter. Next time, it's going to be day 3, and we are going to talk about the BLOB, the 1958 version of the BLOB. It's a sci-fi horror monster movie. Maybe there are some other classifications you could put there, but let's put those for now. For those who want to make it a double feature, there's a 1988 version of the BLOB. These are fun movies, I think. This is the first on the 1958. The BLOB is the first movie in this 31 Days of Scary Movies that is on my not too scary list. So if you're doing the modified version of this, or somebody who wants to, you can check that one out, and that should be safe for you. And, I hope you'll join me again so I can hear your thoughts about the BLOB, and you can hear mine as well. In the meantime, happy EEKtober, everybody. Get spooky, get donuts.